Okay, good morning, everyone. Questions, please.
Morning.
David?
Yeah, you talk about the club's interest in Malik Hooker and just how you assess where you are at safety early in camp, right?
You know, going back to free agency, you know, when Malik had the injury, so this is a conversation that's gone on for quite some time. So you know, I think the obvious is we're working through protocols, and just because of the state we're in and so forth. So I mean, I don't have anything official, but yeah, there's definitely interest, and but I think he just gives us another excellent football player, and I think he's someone that brings competition, but you know, he's coming off of a major injury, and then we just feel like he'd be a really good fit for us.
How about the rest of the safety? Does it read anything into what you think of the rest of the safeties yet?
No, not at all. I really like the safety group, and I think just the whole thing, all the way across the board back there, you're seeing it just in the first two practices, more so back to the OTAs. I think we're doing a great job with the communication, tracking the football, making plays on the football, and that's definitely an area that we'd like to improve on. I felt down the stretch last year, that was a strength of ours. You know, I think Donovan was a force for us, you know, particularly taking the football away, and you know, we want to play that way as a defensive perimeter.
Will he be able to work in immediately, or will you have to kind of ramp up for him to get?
No, there'll definitely be a ramp up in the process. I think it's, you know, part of what we're going through right now too, with the 5-day sequence that you have to go through to you know, to bring him into the protocol.
Experience, is there a difference between a guy who has been unlucky with injuries a couple of times and is injury prone?
No, I think so. Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. I think sometimes players go through that, and I think particularly when you're coming off of a major injury, you know, that first year back is such an important time, and I think going back to what we talked about the other day with the rehab process and you know, the ability to get guys to take the time and doing it the right way and getting their confidence. But yeah, I think sometimes you do have some bad luck. You get caught in a bad position, and but then also I think there is you know, another type of injury prone that you've seen some guys that cannot stay healthy. I think that's you know, that's a natural part of this business.
How difficult is it to get guys in because they have to go through the protocol? You have to figure out, are they vaccinated, are they not vaccinated, that kind of thing.
I mean, it's part of today's NFL. I mean, difficult, but you know, it's the same for everybody. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal to have a player, you know, you have to wait for just to get a workout in. So I mean, it's just the state of the times. So I mean, it's you know, it's never been done before, but we're working through it.
What's y'all's assessment of how healthy he looks, how far along he is in his rehab?
Talk about Malik? Yeah. Well, I haven't seen him in person yet, you know, just because of the protocols. Yeah.
Connor Williams, we've seen this offseason work some at center. How has he looked in this position and his comfort level and your comfort level where he is?
I thought Connor had his best day yesterday with his center reps. You'll see him today in the 2-minute sequence. You definitely want to get him some more work there, but very, very pleased with the steps he's making, you know, with his center reps.
Hope that in the event of a Biotish exit for whatever reason, that Connor will be able to slide from left guard to center and someone will step in for him at left guard?
Definitely. I mean, anytime, in my history, our guards always trained as centers. So, as you know, you want to have 3 on game day. You can't have enough guys that can snap the ball. So, yeah, this definitely gives us more flexibility and you know, definitely has the, you know, competition and all those things part of it. Tyler's doing an excellent job. You know, we're still going through these ramp up practices, but once again, I think Connor definitely took a step yesterday. Looks more and more comfortable, and I'm excited to see him go today in the 2-minute.
What were the strides that you saw? You know, there's the obvious one where the ball went over Nucci's head, but
yeah,
obviously there's more to it than that. So where were those progress?
Cadence. It's really the cadence, the time clock. You know, just the little things up front. I mean, he knows the offense, he knows the run checks, he knows the protections, but it's just the ability to do it at full speed, the cadence variation that's important. So just, you know, any time, like same thing for the center, same thing for the quarterback. You know, we do everything to Dak's cadence, rhythm, and timing. So it's the same thing with the center position. So that all has to be in tune, and that's something that frankly just takes reps. So he needs reps.
I don't know if
Cooper
Mike was
to
talking
practice
about
today.
Tyler or Connor there, but I don't know if he was asking about Connor Williams or Tyler on that one.
Connor Williams, yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
to do anything today?
No, Cooper Rush won't. Yeah, he will not take any team reps today.
Mike, you guys obviously thought a lot of Kelvin Joseph. What's your assessment of him so far?
Calvin Joseph, off to a good start. I mean, he's comfortable out there. But I just think like all of our rookies, it's good to see them in live action. He's done some good things. So I mean, so far so good. Yeah.
Dak and CD have both talked to us about how much they enjoy competing against Trayvon Diggs. What stands out to you most about what Trayvon's doing on the field and how he's making the offense better?
Well, first is his competitive nature. I mean, every play is all out. So I mean, he just brings an intensity to it. I mean, he's so instinctive. His ball skills are unique. When the ball's in the air, he's like another receiver out there. So I just think the competition that all those guys have, it not only brings out the best in them, but it brings out the best in us in the way we practice, and that's why it's so important. Not just based on my past experience, that your starting quarterback, he is such a big part of the tempo and the competition of it at practice, and obviously you want to see as many other players compete at that level, and we definitely have that here.
Diggs and Lamb had a pretty good battle yesterday. Do you?
I'm sorry, who?
Diggs and Lamb
Yes.
had a pretty good exchange. How can you talk about that? And also, is it important for certain battles like that in camp to kind of set the tone and get everyone going, or do you just look for everyone to do that and you don't point to those sort of things?
No, definitely. I think you've answered it with your question. I mean, you can't have enough of it. I mean, that's exactly what you want. I mean, we're doing drills that definitely fit the tempo of what the players are wearing as far as the helmets and the shells. So, but the perimeter guys, they're able to get full speed work. And I mean, when I talk about time clocks, spacing, timing, this is exactly what we're referring to. I mean, you can only get this in training camp. You need this top level of competition. So I mean, we need it all the way across the board.
When a guard slides to center like Connor, and then he slides back to guard, how much?
Let's stay right here, please. I'll get you next. Go.
Jalen responded to the presence of Mike and what you guys want to do with him.
I think he's done a great job. Just once again, not only with Micah, but just the other guys. I mean, Jalen's all football. I've enjoyed working with him since the day I got here. So we got a ton of competition at the linebacker position. Micah's obviously has stood out in the first two practices. Not only inside, but what he can do off the edge. So it's going to be the competition is real. I mean, we're looking at different packages because we definitely want to make sure we can utilize all those guys the best we can.
When a guard slides to center like Connor Williams, then he slides back, how much does that help him understanding the alignment and the calls, even when he moves back to guard? Is that part of the process too?
I mean, definitely, and frankly, they really kind of had a year off because you had no crowd noise. So going back to what I've stated earlier, I've always trained the centers and the guards the same because when you get in some of these stadiums, particularly the dome stadiums, the guards have to have the ability to make the calls, make the center calls. So Connor and the guards, they know the calls. They know it's really about the center mechanics, the snapping, and the being in tune with the cadence and getting the ball snapped on time so everybody can get off on time. So it's just those rhythm and timing plays that you have to get done this time of year because it's the only time it's real. I mean, the walkthroughs are great, but it's more about assignment alignment. But we try to work the cadence at full speed, as much as we possibly can because, Connor and all the other guys need it because they're not getting as much reps as Tyler.
What kind of traits does Jalen have that he can be on the line linebacker, that Sam spot, or even DPR, that setting the edge? We saw a little bit of that yesterday in practice.
Well, I mean, he has in his history, Jalen. I know when I arrived here, I was told about his ability to play the rush edge player. So, just to have that ability to move around because I think it's like anything. I know from an offensive perspective when you're looking to take away a player, particularly a rusher, but when you have inside linebackers that can step to the edge and be a rush player, that's an advantage definitely for the defense because it creates tracking challenges for the offense. The offense maybe has to play a step slower because you have to change the declaration and things like that. So obviously, I think stating the obvious, the more that you can do, that obviously the more it helps.
mentioned the second-year jump that you've looked for and you've seen from some of your second-year players. How about Bradley and what have you seen from him? He seemed to have some quality rushes yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bradley can rush. I mean, we know that. It's he's just got to stay on top of the discipline, of it, particularly in the pre-snap. You had the the offsides there in the 2 minutes that potentially can be a big play for the offense. So, but Bradley's the same guy every day. I love his energy. His work ethic is outstanding. So they just got to clean up the details like most young players do. And this is our first real training camp to go through. So the time that we have to get together in the way this is coordinated will definitely help Bradley.
I mean, it was almost like he was a redshirt freshman now, in a sense, based on last year. I
think so. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Plus, it's a new defensive scheme. We're doing things a little differently. So I mean, he does have some carryover from last year. But no, I think if you can rush, you got to find a place for the guy. But there's more to it than just that. So because we do have a number of players in that defensive front that have multiple position flexibility. So obviously that's great for us as coaches. It's challenging to sort it out and trying to make sure that you're getting reps spread out about. So his ability to be disciplined, and also let's not forget he started on a punt team at the beginning of last year too. So his ability to contribute on special teams will definitely be a big factor.
Where's Gallimore made his biggest strides?
His biggest strides have been in the weight room and strength conditioning. I mean, he's in tremendous shape. I mean, I think like a lot of rookies, it's a threshold to get over exactly the level of conditioning to play in the league the first year. So, it's all the way through. His weight, his conditioning. He's had a tremendous offseason. So he looks great. Has complete understanding. Where this time last year he was just learning the defense and how we wanted to play, the different stances and things like that. But Neville's taken a huge jump in the offseason.
Bigger? Is he bigger?
I mean, he's always been big. I mean, he's stronger. He's a lot stronger. He's in great shape.
Mike, we saw a couple plays from Randy in run support yesterday. Yeah. Is that an underrated part of his game? I know we talked about his pass rush ability.
Well, as soon as we called the reverse, Kellen said it, and then I laughed too because I would never run a reverse back to Randy Gregory back in the old days. I mean, and we ran two his way, and we can't get outside of him. He's a great athlete, definitely in space, but he has a really good understanding. He has a knack for that. He's, that's something that he's done for very well his whole time in the league, and I think it was evident twice here in yesterday's practice.
Now that you've gotten to know Jerry Jones, working so closely with him here for a while, is there anything about him that's surprised you in terms of maybe how your perception that you had from the outside looking in compared to what you know now?
Well, I think from the outside, you definitely always have the respect for not only what he's done as a football man, but what he's done for the whole league. So, I mean, I was aware of that, but now having a complete understanding of exactly the impact he's made for the NFL, I mean, you just obviously can be so much more impressed. But the best thing about Jerry for me is just getting to know him personally. I mean, he just has great love for his family. I mean, his people skills and just the way the family's integrated into the business. I mean, it's something he wears on his sleeve. So that's what I've been so impressed with.
Bahana, he offers tremendous size, but how do you keep that from being negative when it comes to his pad height, just being how tall that he is? Where is he in terms of just playing low? And is that something you're looking for him throughout camp, including when the pads come on?
Well, definitely. I think that's better for. I mean, there's some guys that you have them on every team you have. There's guys that look different in helmets and shells that you go, but then when they put the pads on, it's a different deal. So, obviously, pad level and all that. That's something that I know I'll be watching it. You'll be watching it. The padded practices are different because the leverage points and the ability to play with leverage is definitely a whole different challenge in those types of practices, and frankly, that's real football.
Mike, how have you changed over the years as a head coach and how you approach a practice? Are you more of a walk around and checking everything out, whereas in Green Bay you're always with the offense? How do you go about it now?
I mean, this job, just from my job responsibility, is definitely different than it was in Green Bay. I mean, I was running the offense, calling the offense. So, but you're always in charge, of everything that goes on. Frankly, this particular camp, just being here for the first time, there's still things we're working through, just how you want to practice. But at the end of the day, as a head coach, you want the practice done the right way. I mean, we've always had a high standard of how we practice, the speed of how we practice, the organization of it. This is, to me, is the competition of every head coach in the league. How you train your team, how you practice your team. There's a tremendous amount of time that goes into that. So I mean, a lot of these practices and team meetings and content is done back in June. So I've always tried to forecast for just pretty much whatever direction I think the team's going to go. Because I've never, now in my earlier days, I try to do as much as I possibly can to get ahead of it and kind of stay true to a script. But I think as you learn as a head coach, the script changes. The pulse of your team, especially not going through this yet with my team. There's some things that we'll adjust and tweak, and I think just to have the ability to be able to anticipate that and make those adjustments is definitely a benefit of having experience doing this before. But yeah, definitely, my job here is definitely a lot different than my prior job.
You wrestled some with the transition of giving up, of deferring some of the hands-on in a practice to kind of take the macro look instead of getting in and doing stuff. Was that, do you still wrestle with that some, or are you?
I don't know if it's a wrestling match. I think if all, I can't speak for other head coaches. I mean, the most fun I ever had coaching was when I was coaching the quarterbacks. I loved it. I mean, I loved every second of it. The development of that, that position is such a challenging position to coach. You miss those meetings and the detail of the meetings and the walkthroughs and the conversations. I mean, you're coaching cadence variation every single day, and that's such a weapon for an offense. So, I mean, that's clearly in my times the most fun I've had. Coordinating is the most challenging and the most competitive, and yeah, definitely, and I miss that too. So I mean, it's part of growing up in this league, and but at the end of the day, when you're the head coach, you got to make sure everything's right, and you got to have your hands on everything. So it's definitely it's a group effort, because when you are calling one side or the other, you're not able to be involved or be on top of more things, or at least be able to observe things in a live segment as opposed to conversations after the fact or watching the video. So, I mean, this structure of a head coach is different for me, but at the end of the day, I'm in charge of how everything goes, how the training of the football team is intact and the details of that. And this does have a lot of first-year feel to it, because this is a new environment for me. Just getting the schedule right because of the flow from the practices to the meetings. All those things are part of it, but do I enjoy competing and coaching quarterbacks? Yeah, I think any head coach would, but you have a lot more administrative responsibility. Today's NFL with the pandemic and the COVID protocols, all those things. So this is clearly the highest amount of administrative responsibility. All right, did I get to go now? All right. So they got, you saw that, didn't you? Yeah. But all right. All right, I think we're done, right? Thank you.